Welcome back to Reading Every X-Men Comic Ever, the weekly series where I read, recap, and rank every X-Men comic ever. This is one of the best weeks so far in my journey through all of X-Men, with Longshot by Ann Nocenti and Arthur Adams, Nightcrawler by Dave Cockrum, and Firestar by Tom DeFalco and Mary Wilshire. Obviously, I'm going to be recapping all of them, so I highly recommend you read them all first, and then come back and watch this video. If you don't care about spoilers, great, but I do highly recommend reading all of these yourself. Starting with Longshot. This 6-issue miniseries starts with a man on the run who travels through a portal and ends up in modern-day Earth, or modern-day at the time. It's mid-80s. He has no idea who he is, or where he's from, or where this is. He saves a baby from some demons, and he gets the nickname Longshot, since all of his ideas are long shots that end up working. Throughout his adventures, Longshot meets a stunt woman named Rita, steals some diamonds from a power company, causes a citywide blackout, gets attacked by Spider-Man and She-Hulk, befriends some kids, fights a demon dog that he befriended, and remembers almost everything. Mojo and his subordinate Spiral come to collect Longshot themselves, but they realize they can just enslave the human race instead. Longshot teams up with Doctor Strange, Rita, and a pessimistic goat guy named Quark, and force Mojo and Spiral back through a portal to their home dimension, with all but Strange following them to make sure they don't return. This is a super fun read. It's a really weird journey that gets really trippy really fast, throwing you into the action, leaving you just as confused as Longshot himself. This obviously isn't an original way to tell a story, but it works great here, so if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Mojo is great. He's that type of super insane villain that's just evil for the sake of it. There's no traumatic backstory or validity to his evilness. He just wants to rule everything and everyone so that he's on top. Spiral is also great. She doesn't get a lot of the spotlight, but what we do get of her is super fun, and her design is just awesome. As a whole, Longshot Volume 1 here gets an average score of an 8.2, putting it right between Magic Volume 1 and Kitty Pryde and Wolverine. Individually, each issue gets ranked, as you can see on the screen, with issues 1, 2, and 4 all getting 8s, issues 5 and 6 both getting 9s, but issue 3 brings it down with a 7. Moving on to the Nightcrawler miniseries, which is kind of similar to Longshot in the sense that it follows a guy who goes through a portal and ends up in another universe. You see, Nightcrawler jumps into a portal to save Lockheed from this squid thing and finds himself in a strange world with sky cities and pirates and the like. He ends up in the care of a literal shark mage named Shagreen. He escapes, rescues a princess, then gets whisked away into another world by Kitty and Ileana, who are trying to get him back home. The new world he lands in isn't actually that new to us if you've been keeping up with the series. It's the fantasy world from Kitty's story in X-Men 153, complete with Bamfs and Mean, and the pirates Kitty and Colossus, and the OG Lockheed. This time, Nightcrawler has to rescue all of the Bamfs from Shagreen, the shark mage who followed him to this dimension. He and his compatriots get captured once again, but receive assistance from Wind Rider and the Bamfs to help escape captivity and defeat the Sharkman once and for all. He gets whisked away again to another dimension, where it finds out the way home is just to believe hard enough. How very Wizard of Oz. With that, Nightcrawler Volume 1 ends up being a good fun romp, but nothing really beyond that. And it is my least favorite of the bunch. It's by no means bad, but it feels a little lacking, especially in the world-building department. We are introduced to this new world in the first issue, but we're only in it for 2 issues total. We're never really getting a chance to really explore it before moving on to the next one. Because of that lack of world building, the first world doesn't end up feeling that unique in comparison, aside from the fact that everything is in the sky, which I don't think it needs to be. I think if all 4 issues took place in one world, preferably the second one since it's already established, just in different locations in that world, nothing about the book really changes, and I actually think the plot would be a bit smoother, and we get a more fleshed out world. All in all, the 4 issues of Nightcrawler are split down the middle, with the first 2 issues being 7s, and the last 2 issues being 8s, leading to the average score of a 7.5 for the whole thing, placing it between Wolverine Volume 1 and X-Men Alpha Flight Volume 1. Finally, we get to Firestar Volume 1, which is another 4-issue miniseries and my personal favorite of the trio. This run is uniquely paced compared to the others this week, as each issue is a jump in time, with Angelica here being about a year older with each issue. We begin about 2 years before X-Men 193 with a 13-year-old Angelica Jones, who's a normal teenage girl, starting at a new school, and ends up developing powers to collect, store, and harness microwave energy. The development of these powers does traumatize her a bit, as you might expect, and unfortunately, Emma Frost beats Xavier to the punch and has her join the Massachusetts Academy. About 4 months later, a 14-year-old Angelica's stay at the Massachusetts Academy is going okay, but Emma has taken special liking to her, not allowing her to have any friends besides a horse and her bodyguard, and grooming her to become the greatest mutant assassin ever, at the expense of the horse. A year later, post the events of X-Men 193, Emma continues a 15-year-old Angelica's training and manipulation, and it's unfortunately starting to show results. On the night Angelica is finally set to become the assassin Emma wants by killing Selene, her bodyguard Randall learns too much and suffers the consequences. However, he tells Angelica everything before dying in her arms. Learning that she has been manipulated the entire time, she goes ballistic, attacking Emma and destroying the entire mutant facility under the Academy, and then leaving. I really loved this book, and I'm so happy that it met my expectations for quality. To me, this book's biggest strength is the build-up. It takes that classic teenager developing powers origin trope and twists it. Instead of a girl who wants to use her powers to be a hero and learning what that means, we see a girl who just wants to be a girl with friends and hobbies, but instead gets groomed and manipulated into becoming an assassin. She gets isolated from society and traumatized by death multiple times, all in service of a woman in an organization that does not care about her. All this leads to you really connecting with Angelica. You feel what everything she's going through, but when that final issue hits and she learns everything that she's been through these past 3 years has been a lie, her rebellion and revenge is some of the best catharsis I have felt in a long time, and probably some of the best catharsis I've read in comics. The book as a whole, for me, gets an 8.3, tying it with Kitty Pryde and Wolverine for best full series. The breakdown for the issues themselves start with a 7 for issue 1, 8 for issues 2 and 3, and then a 10 for issue 4, which shows you just how much I loved the payoff at the end. However, that's all for this week. If you've gotten all the way through this video, I really, really appreciate it. If you liked it, please hit any of the buttons below. If you have thoughts or questions, leave them in the comments. I would love to hear them, and I'll probably even respond. The entire playlist is in the description below, and subscribe to stay tuned for the next one. Speaking of next time, it is Secret Wars 2. We are here. Now, this batch of comics has 23 issues in it, which is the most amount of comics I've read for a video so far. With that said, it may take longer for that video to come out than the usual week. I will try my best, but I make no promises. It might take a couple weeks. In any case, whenever that video comes out, see you then. Bound.